I want to just quickly share before we turn it over to our first speaker. This concept of thinking Indigenous and bringing people together was from discussions with Chris, myself, and our staff, as well as with some other education-related people. And last year when we first started planning this conference, Chris and I and Yvette and Andrea and everybody else that was part of the committee, we said, well, we'll be lucky if we get, we'll be so happy if we get about 50 people attending our conference. So we planned for 100 at the most, and last year we ended up with close to 500 people attending, so we're so excited about that, and we're constantly encouraged to have another conference such as this, and I'm so happy to see every single one of you coming out to think Indigenous. That's the message that our elders constantly give us, and thank you again to one of our elders that just spoke and prayed with us as a staff just before the conference. We've got a great lineup of dignitaries. Very honored to have each and every one of them come out and support us. I'd like to first of all introduce our first speaker, who is the Métis Nation President, Mr. Robert Doucette. He said he had to go compete in the powwow, so he's in a rush here.
No, actually, I have a higher power. It's called my wife, and I got to pick her up at 5 o'clock. So it gets kind of surly when I'm late, so I've learned a lesson. Don't leave a First Nations woman hanging. So, Atlanate, Tanse, and good evening, Madam Chair. Thank you for allowing me to speak first. Chief Cameron, College of Education Dean Michelle Prestula. Did I say your name right? Pretty close? Oh, I'll get it right someday. And U of S Chancellor Blaine Fable. But like I say to you, Chief, I'll call you Chief again, because once a chief, always a chief. Chief Fable. It's just a respect that I have for people that have worked, and you've earned our respect, as have all of the other people that are in here that are in those positions. And all of you here tonight at this conference, I'd like to, as I do with every speaking engagement, recognize my wife, Betty Garr, who I've been with for over 27 years. We raised 3 beautiful children. We have 2 beautiful granddaughters, and I acknowledge them because without them I couldn't have walked this path. And so it's important to recognize that women are the strength of our communities. Without women, we're nothing. I want to say that. I'm not even running for nothing. Let's also thank the Creator for this day. Without the Creator and His guidance, we make this world a better place for each one of us. So on behalf of the more than 100,000 Métis citizens in the Provincial Métis Council, I would like to congratulate the organizers of this meaningful conference. You know, our future as Métis and First Nations people will be realized through our languages, traditions, practices, and our values. And just to give you an example, my grandfather and grandmother, and probably some of yours also that are in here, spoke 5 languages. They spoke 5 languages, and they could read 3, and it was just normal. It wasn't, it was just the way it was. They had to. Dene, Cree, Michif, English, and French. So they could speak it and read it all. We got to get back to that, I think. It is imperative our children and grandchildren and the future generation yet to come understand who they are, where they came from, and be proud to be Métis and First Nation. They have to be solid. They have to know, and they have to be proud of who they are. That's what will ensure that our future will be there for our people. You know, after the long, painful road of residential schools and the 60 scoop, of which I am a child of the 60 scoop, and that will be something that's coming up. You know, let us remember with reverence the old ones that have passed on, the elders still with us, and our generation and the future generation yet to come. You know, it is again my honor to bring opening remarks to this great conference. I congratulate the organizers of this conference. I hope over the next 2 days that the workshops that you go to will be meaningful and that you will take back what you learned from this conference to your community and pass on those traditions and teachings that you get today or tomorrow or the day after. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you, and may God bless all of you here today. Aye.
Thank you, Robert. He's getting an awesome little t-shirt and a gift. Thank you so much, Chris, for presenting that to him. Hi, hi. The next person doesn't need any introduction. I'm really proud of him. He's actually a member of my family. He got really close to my late father and has been a constant presence within our family and within the Niigaaniit Cree Nation. He's one of the very first at the University of Saskatchewan to be recognized as a Chancellor. So please welcome Blaine Fable from Poundmaker.
Good afternoon, and Oskum. No, I'm Tetiek, that I'm Scott Nagakyo. Thank you for Nistas for Bixquistmoya to open it up, and Jean Quista. I want to keep my remarks very, very short because apparently there's a powwow going on. But I just wanted to congratulate the College of Education for putting on this conference. It's a big conference. Chris Scribe has worked hard, the organizing committee. I want to just acknowledge their hard work, and so let's give them a round of applause for putting this together for us. Chris was sweating, so I know he's running around, so he's working hard. One of the things that, I'm going to leave you with one thought. There's lots that I can talk about. I always want to say that the Indian Teacher Education Program is the very first program that that the University of Saskatchewan ever implemented for Aboriginal people. We're the oldest in Canada. We're the biggest in Canada. We've had the most impact on Indigenous education in Canada, and I'm proud to be an alumni of the ITEP program. And they're continuing to make important changes. And this university is leading the way in the country. I can assure you of that. We've got a good president, Peter Stoichev, who's committed to indigenizing the academy. We don't know what that means yet, but I don't think it's bologna and bannock for lunch. But I think it's more focused on language and our ways of being and our culture and our surviving as distinct Indigenous people. I was down in New Zealand last year. I think some of you have been to meet with the Maori and learn from them. And one of the learnings that I took away from my conversations with the Maori is that they don't distinguish how colonialism defined them. You know, they're not a quarter Métis, they're not a quarter Maori, there's no Maori Métis, they're Maori, and they're Indigenous. And so that's how they define themselves. And so the work that we're doing here, we also should be mindful of that. I know that Robert has left, but I've got Métis ancestry, and I've got First Nations ancestry, as almost most reserves do. Absolutely. So we have to respect each other, not have these false walls between us. I remember we had a membership conversation many years ago, and there was a late elder, Norman Sunchild Agiti Tsigaso, and he passed away some years ago, a long time ago. And he said this one thing that I want to just leave with you is that when the old people signed treaty, they never believed, or they welcomed newcomers to the land, they never believed that some of their children, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren would be disenfranchised from benefiting from the wealth of their land. And so this is a really important teaching. It means that it doesn't matter if you're, honest to God, in my opinion, 10% First Nation or 110% First Nation. The important is how you carry yourself, the respect for your ways, and to speak up for our people wherever you go, and be proud wherever you go. And so I don't know what indigenization means for the university. I can't tell you. As of yet, it's a work in progress. But I can tell you that the work of this organization, this conference, the ITEP program, is really important to influencing the university and this province going forward. And I'm glad you have a good dean. You've got a good management team. I see some of the associate deans here as well. Thank you for coming out, or assistant deans. I don't know what they call them properly. But I know that Dean Pertula has been committed to this. She's put money into this program. She's been supported by central administration. I think she learned the mentorship program from the Maori, and now we're implementing it here. So we're trying to do the very best things we can here in this university. And we'll borrow from other people. We'll borrow good ideas. We'll pioneer a lot of good ideas. and that in the future, I think that this is a source of pride. We met with the University of Queensland, and the University of Queensland was one of the top-ranked universities in the world. In the university, they have university rankings. And they credited the investment they made in Maori education, researching the distinctiveness of Maori people, as a reason for them being in the top 100. And I think U of S is 300 and something, right? So just to show you how much work we have to go, but that we're onto something important here. And I encourage you to keep working hard, all of the academics, the staff, the students, and thank you very much. I just want to leave you with those quick thoughts. I also was told by the ladies selling T-shirts, there's 4 of them, they're students, encouraging everybody to buy a T-shirt, and they wanted me to tell you that they're wonderful ladies and that you should stop by and say hi. So that's for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Blaine. Thank you for those words. I'd like to know, another person who doesn't need an introduction is, I used to work at the Federation of Saskatchewan Indian Nations, and I've never seen an elected official get elected with such a high, wide, super wide, kick-butt majority. He's got the confidence of chief and councils across Saskatchewan. I'd like to welcome FSIN Chief Bobby Cameron.
Well, it's too bad Robert wasn't here. Because I have Métis, a lot of Métis relations, eh? And we always poking fun at one another, me and my Métis brothers and sisters, me and my Métis cousins. So, you know, I just want to tell a quick story about Métis and how they got their name. I was back in the 1400s. Columbus and whoever else, these so-called discoverers of our Indian land, were traveling across the ocean, coast to coast. They came upon a shoreline. They eventually ended up seeing land. And they saw some of our Nehiyawak people on the land. And they could see these First Nations folks waving them on, going like this. As they got closer to the land, now they could hear the voices. And the First Nation folks were going, Astamut, baby dog. Oops, sorry about that. I love hunting elk, man. Treaty hunting forever. Be my life till the day I die. So anyways, they get close to the shoreline. And the First Nation folks are saying, Astam. Baby dog, you know, come smoke the pipe with us. Come over here. And as they got closer, they could start hearing them much better. And the Indigenous people were saying, Astam. And this is how the Métis got their name. They made out, because our First Nation folks were, very kind people and hospitable people. And the word was, and they were just inviting a Métis people. They were inviting these explorers, and they were saying, Astam, we made tea. And that's how they got their name. We made tea. Oh boy. Amigo nesno agamantek nistamina kinaskomta no au. Emetsetik. Nigan manto. Kinaskomanta gagi sagao me goats. Totset workite yak. Tamskaten wow he gagi samuak. To all who are here, to the college, to the university, to our Chancellor, to our elders, to all the educators who are here in attendance. The theme, the concept is Think Indigenous. And there's no better way to think Indigenous than to utilize our kiteyak in the classrooms. That's where you're going to get Indigenous knowledge. That's where you're going to get traditional treaty teachings from our elders. And you search high and wide, you search far, you search wide. We have so many, a vast library of treaty traditional knowledge keepers throughout Indian country. So to the U of S, really utilize our elders in the classroom. You know, it is our focus at the FSIN that one day, we may not see it in our time, but as long as we start the process here and now, that one day, the history of treaties, pre-treaties, the day of treaties, and the day after treaties, up until 2016, that our treaties be fully taught and implemented in the classrooms on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly, yearly basis, so that one day our teachers are offered as a 4-year degree. Because that's how much information is in our inherent and treaty rights and before treaties, how life was before treaties, how the survival off the land was the only way off the land, the indigenous way off the land, through hunting, fishing, trapping, and gathering. Those of us that still practice that way of life, and I see a few in the crowd, Brent Kachich, Daryl Chemikis, tries to hunt, but he's a good fisherman. But that's the thing with us. Those of us that are fortunate and have the privilege and honor to learn that old way of life. Because now, I'm a 42-year-old man, and my son, we started early, me and my ex-wife. We started early. And our son's now 21 years old. And those of you that are grandparents, kokums and mushrooms in the crowd, I'm a very proud mushroom. Because my grandson is now 5 weeks old. Now I can teach that traditional way of life off the land to my grandson when he gets older. Those of us that are fortunate to eat that traditional food, keeping in mind, I know the urban cities, it's really hard to practice that way of life. But for us that continue that way of life, it's a blessing. And as long as we continue that way of life, that inherent and treaty right to hunt, fish, trap, and gather, our treaties will continue to remain. They will never be extinguished, no matter what any government will try to do. Currently, we have a treaty hunting battle going on with certain individuals. But the fact remains, our way of life off this land will continue through ceremony and through very important projects like this. So let's start that process. Let's start that mentality, that way of thinking. Let's start teaching treaties in class to the point where we can offer it as a 4-year degree. This government and universities want to talk about reconciliation and implementing the TRC, the 94 recommendations. Well, here's an opportunity, perfect opportunity to highlight, showcase, and teach our inherent and treaty rights in the classroom. For not just our First Nation people, but non-First Nation folks alike. Have a good day. Marcy Cho, Tinige, Megwich, Pedamaya, hi.
Chris, you're supposed to stand up here and give gifts up here. Thank you again. I'd like to now introduce to you a young lady who I met when I first started at the university, and she was a principal at St. Francis Elementary School, and she was already making a lot of good trails for us to follow as educators. She started the whole process of having our interns coming into the school and our teacher candidates working right at the school and working with the classroom teachers and learning about the curriculum while they were in the classroom. So she's a pioneer, and I'm so honored that she is now our dean. The direction that she's taken the College of Education is unbelievable. She supports the Indian Teacher Education Program. I'd like to now introduce to you Dr. Michelle Pertula.
Tanshe and Tanse Agumagantik, Michelle Partula Nasigasun, Vonda and Leove Lochinia, Maga Saskatoon, Nuigan. Thank you. I'm learning slowly. I know that much of what I'll be saying tonight might have been said already in beautiful Cree. I apologize. It's taking me a little bit of time to learn, but it's such a beautiful language. I'm Michelle Partula. I'm privileged to be the Dean of the College of Education and to be learning from so many amazing people. I want to welcome our elders, chiefs, all of the participants, especially faculty, so many are here today, and all of our friends. Thank you to the singers and to the drummers for the beautiful entry, and to the elders for the prayer. Thank you. Thank you for that. I acknowledge that we are on beautiful Treaty 6, home of our First Nation and Métis Round Prairie ancestors, and it's a privilege to be here. This is the very important Think Indigenous opening ceremonies, and this is an event that is unlike any other. It's one of our college's most important initiatives, and it's one that we're the most proud of. This conference, though, does come in combination with many of the other things that we're doing in the College of Education that are just making us stronger, more knowledgeable, and I think every day maybe a little bit more deserving to serve all of the people in Saskatchewan. We're committed at the College of Education. We might make a lot of mistakes, but I keep saying those are the ones that I learn the most from. We're committed to moving forward together. We're committed to reconciliation. We're committed to expanding our partnerships and learning from one another. What we want to do is provide culturally relevant instruction, programming, supports in the ways that our students and our partners need. And sometimes that's a pretty challenging task. But I know, I work every single day at the U of S, I know that we have the right team there. We have so many committed people, First Nation, non-First Nation. We have Michif people now as part of our team in the college. We have the right team. So I'm saying with confidence that the time is actually now. I had the privilege a couple days ago of commenting at our Dean's Council that I anticipate that over the next 10 years, 5 years, however many, that we will make unprecedented gains in working together, in understanding each other, and in moving this province and our nations forward in the way that they need to move. I know this because I'm surrounded by knowledgeable people, First Nation and Métis people, who are patient with me and who help teach me what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. I want to acknowledge those people, this exceptional team in the college. We have a brand new undergraduate associate dean who has done more in 9 or 10 months, has it been that long, Dawn? Than any other associate dean, including myself, in the time that she's been here, especially advancing our college in understanding treaty and the work that she's doing with students. So Dawn, sorry, I know I'm going to pay for this later, but if you wouldn't mind standing up and giving a bit of a wave, thank you for everything that you're doing. We also have unprecedented support from our departments. We have 4 department heads who will not stop. There is no off switch when it comes to doing the right things for Saskatchewan right now, and those department heads are fantastic. And this just complements the work that ITEP and SUNTEP are doing to strengthen our students, to strengthen our mandate. And I want to outline some of the work that these people are doing. We're actually building a Métis mandate like we've never done before. We have a very strong ITEP mandate, and it's just strengthening. And the work that we're doing with our Métis partners is strengthening as well, and we are committed to that. Some of the evidence of this, and you might have noticed this, is we built an Indigenous language certificate with a lot of advice and a lot of support from you, from our communities, and those are taking off. We've started with the I think the most logical choice, the Cree language instruction or that certificate, and then Michif, and we'll just continue to move through until we're addressing, I don't ever want to say until we've met the needs, because I think that that's going to be an ongoing challenge, but until we're addressing some of the things that we're being asked to look at. We're continuing with our on-reserve programs and supports, and I think that those are excellent. Chris is always on the road. He tells me he's working. I just take his word for it, but constantly going out there and doing the work that we need to do. We've got an amazing ITEP expansion and renovation coming in, which will be unprecedented. You will not be able to walk on the third floor of the college without seeing what is important to the University of Saskatchewan. And we are committed to continuous supports, to doing what we need to do in order to benefit all of our students. And I'm so proud of all these people for coming together, learning from one another in order to be able to do all of these things. Today, I also want to congratulate you. The enrollment in the Think Indigenous conference took everyone by surprise last year, and this year is no exception. This initiative, through your participation, shows us how important it is to come together and to learn from one another in order to advance ourselves. We will continue in our commitment to not only supporting and graduating First Nation teachers for First Nation children, but also Métis or Michif teachers for our Métis and Michif children. And by doing so, we are improving the lives and the understanding and the potential of all people in Saskatchewan, Aboriginal and non, because it's through understanding each other that we build a better place. We know that this is how we thrive. We know that this is how we build our nations. We know that this is how we leave this province with a gift, the best gift that we could possibly give or leave behind when we're gone. And that is leaving this place, leaving Treaty 6, better for our children than it was when we arrived. And our partnerships, our commitments will allow us to do this. So I want to pick on or embarrass just a few other people. The organizing committee, I know we've acknowledged them a few times, but if you wouldn't mind just standing, you've done an incredible amount of work and it needs to be acknowledged. Chris and Alyssa, please stand. Yvette, Edie, Mika, Audrey, Andrea, Connie, you're all in here. Irene, thank you so much. Brenda and Pat. This is amazing work. Thank you so much. This is not work that is in the normal day-to-day, everyday work that these people are doing. They go above and beyond. I've seen it for the past couple weeks, these people staying until incredible hours to bring you what we need to do, which is better than anything we've ever done before. I feel personally so fortunate to be working with all of you. Thank you so much. Kanana Skumtin.
Hi. Just a couple of housekeeping stuff before I introduce the next person. Shuttle service tomorrow. Tomorrow the conference will be the Red Talks and they'll be at the Lakewood Church. I think the map is in your booklet, but the shuttle will be in the front of the Saskatoon Inn here at 7:15 and it'll return you at about 3 or 3:30. Okay, so and it also seats about 60 people. Okay? T-shirts are being sold out there. We've got some great volunteers. We met with our student volunteers the other night and we're putting packages together till about midnight. We had some awesome, our students are the ones that we really rely on as an organizing committee to make this conference a success. So I'd really like to acknowledge them. I see some here sitting over there in the corner, but let's give them a round of applause, our student body. I'd also like to thank Fawn and Dallas for coming out through the storm. They went and braved the stormy roads to get here on time to talk to all the Nutana students yesterday and high school students from across the city. We started yesterday with the youth from within the city of Saskatoon. There's a young man here that I really, really look up to, and the maturity that he brings to us as a staff and the college. The dean talked about him a little bit. He brings so much maturity and that traditional knowledge that all of us aspire to be. And I'd really like to acknowledge him, and I'd like him to come and share some words with you and to welcome all of you. So let's give a round of applause to Chris Scribe.
Okay. I'd just like to say welcome to all of you that are here, braving a storm and coming through. People were wondering, the roads are bad. Are people going to make it? I mean, shoot, Indians travel no matter what, through any kind of battle, and they just make it happen. I phoned, actually, Dallas was coming down, and he phoned me. It was 12 o'clock, and I was 12:30, and I was already in bed. And he phones trying to joke around over the phone. I'm like, what do you want, man? Tell me. Oh, we're on our way. We're coming. Yeah, so where do I go? What's going on? I'm like, just show up Saskatoon tomorrow. You'll be all right. How are the roads? Oh, they're good. Yeah, they're good. All of a sudden, they're late to the thing because the roads are bad, and they stopped in Battleford. Yeah, no matter what, they'll get through. I guess I just want to say a few things. I'm really grateful here today. I get an opportunity to share knowledge with a lot of difference makers that are in the room. And I'm really honored here that this wasn't on the agenda for me to address anybody or to talk. In fact, I was trying to avoid actually coming up here. But because Curtis is late and we made things a little bit fast, Indians were actually on time, ahead of time. Holy smokes, we were making it through. So lo and behold, I'm up here. But it's especially meaningful because in the crowd here today, I got my father, I got my aunt, and my other aunt, and my adopted dad standing in listening in the crowd. I got my mom also sitting here in witness. So I have to be on my best behavior. So this is going to be the best behaved Chris you're ever going to get. I owe a lot, I owe a lot of my thought process and how I think about things and how I approach my job in educating people to my upbringing. And sometimes we don't realize until we look back all of the amazing gifts that we were given from our family members, from our friends, from our loved ones. And it's only in retrospect. When a time is happening, we don't really know. When a time is right before us, we don't really know the magnitude of what lessons we're being taught. But I can honestly say right now that anything good that I have done in education, and it's very small amount of things, but that small amount of good is a result of the lessons taught to me by my father and my adopted father, my aunts. And also hugely responsible of my grandmother, who is no longer with us. And it's in their memories and it's in their presence that I stand up here and talk to you about education and how important this is. Now, I've said a lot of speeches and talks recently, and more so since I became working at the university. And I always talk about the reason why and the purpose and the passion as to what we do, why we do the things that we do. And I look out at this crowd and I see difference makers. I see people that took on a responsibility to make a difference for our youth, to change the way we think so that our kids can do good things, so that they can get the hell out of our prisons and they can get into places where they'll be successful. And we're hoping that that happens, and I know with all my heart and soul that happens in our schools. I wanted to share one of my purpose and reason and passion here with you today. My grandfather, my mushum, Nimushum, his name was Murdo Scribe, and he was an amazing person. When I say amazing, what I mean is we think about education as attaining a degree and going to university and getting a PhD, which I'm doing a PhD. Well, we think of that as education. But my grandfather had a grade 6 industrial school education, a place where they tried to kill him and his beliefs and his ways of knowing. And despite that attack on who he was as an Indigenous person, he maintained his knowledge of the land. He maintained his identity as a Cree person. And he was a PhD level, doctorate level, academic beyond anything you could ever understand in regards to the environment, to the stars, to the anatomy of animals, to all of these great things. And he showcased that when he moved out of his home community and moved into Portage la Prairie, when he worked with the school division and he worked with the schools, and he toured in there and shared this knowledge with them. And he would take the stories that he knew and he would share these with kids. Not just Indigenous kids, not just Indian or Métis kids, he would share them with children. And all of them got something from it. And it was amazing that the response, it was so amazing that 34 years later, people come up to me and talk to me about my mushum and the job that he did in schools. Now, for myself, I never ever got an opportunity to have a conversation with my grandfather about education, about what we can do for our kids. I never got the chance to sit down and philosophize, I don't know if that's a word, with him about what we can do and how we can think. And my grandfather was taken far too early and had a lot of knowledge he wanted to share. So when I started this path in education and thought, what am I going to do? It's a pretty cool job. I get to sit and visit and learn from really cool people. Cool people like Darlene Weenie, who was here, and some cool people from the teachers. Get to learn that. But I had to make a promise. I had to make a vow that I wasn't going to be in a job for a teacher just to get a paycheck. Because if I want to make money, it's not going to be teaching. And we know that. But if I'm going to, thank you. There has to be a reason for that. So as a vow that I made, and my younger brother, who's also here today, he made a similar one. And for me in education, I made a promise because I believe with all my heart and soul that when my time is done here, when I'm finished on this earth and I take my last breath, I believe in a creator. I believe in our spiritual ways, that when that time comes for me, I'm going to go and be greeted by my ancestors. I'm going to be greeted by my grandfather. He's going to be there. And in that time that I meet him, and in that time that I have a conversation, the first words that are going to come out of my mouth are going to be, Mushum, I did everything I could for our kids to be successful in school. I did everything I could, Mushum, like you would have. That's what I want to say. Because that's the type of difference that we could make in schools. We can change the lives of our children. We can save the lives of our children if we think like that. And you're in a position now and you have a responsibility to do that. And there's a lot of issues in our schools. And the reason why this conference exists is for us to discuss and bring together ideas to inspire us to make sure that we do that. That we take our kids out of prison, that we don't count the number of beds we have to build in the penitentiary in grade 3 by the number of Aboriginal students that are in our classes, that we take them out of that. That they can graduate out of those positions and be proud of who they are. So that we can all have that opportunity to say that. I did everything I could for our kids to be successful. And that is the purpose. That is the reason. And that's our passion. And I know that I've been to a lot of conferences. I've been to quite a few. And it's some of them, you hear the same things over and over again. And I don't want this to be that. I want us to have good discussions and leave here with some tools to go back to our communities and make a difference. That's the purpose of this. And I know the right people are here, and I know that we got a good vibe coming. So, I wanted to share that little bit. I wanted to share that because of who's in the crowd, also because of how important you are and the positions that you hold in your communities. Because you might not know it, but you teachers that have these kids every day, sometimes our kids, you're the only safe place for them and the only safe person for them. And they'll do anything if you're able to build it with them. So, I know I've seen Curtis's bun bouncing around, so he's here. And I'll just wrap up with this. We have a time right now where people are listening to us. We're in a position right now where we can stand up and a little Indian, like me, and people will listen. What are we going to do with that? What are we going to do in our communities? We have an opportunity and the doorway is open. And every single person that I talked to at the university, that when it was created was never created for me to be successful in there. They're wanting to create space. So what are we going to do? All of us have this ability and it's a magnificent amount of skill to inspire change in our community schools. Let's not continue to do the same thing we've always done. Because according to Einstein, that's the definition of insanity. And I don't think anyone's insane here. So with that, I want you to enjoy the conference. Before we go, I'd like to thank all the amazing hard work. I'm a small part of this. People say that I'm the one that was running this. That's not it. The committee that's here, the support that I get from the college, it's all of these people, these ladies that are sitting here, the ladies that are outside that are not even in here right now. They step up and make this happen. So I like to acknowledge them and lift them up right now. Let's give them a round of applause. Yeah, yay. You still don't get days off, though. No, just kidding. So I just wanted to say that. I wanted to have this opportunity. Things happen for a reason. And those chiefs, like, holy smokes, a chief talked for less than 5 minutes. I couldn't believe that. And that's why we were early, Curtis. It's not your fault. So things happen for a reason. I was meant here to address this and say this. And we don't get that chance very often. So, hi. Takiok Damsunoa. Nanaskaman. Hey.
Thanks, Chris, for agreeing to do that. Thank you. Your words continue to inspire me, always. Our keynote is a very important part to begin our conference. And within Saskatoon, we have a theater world. And it was called the Saskatchewan Native Theater Company. And one of the founders was from the Poundmaker Cree Nation. He made it happen. He started this group along with several other people. And last year what we did as a board with the theater company was we changed the name. We changed the name of this great theater company because our youth are the main components within this company. And we changed it to Gordon Tatusis Niganiwin Theater Company. And we had a huge celebration last year to get it started. But there's a young man who started off with a group called the Circle of Voices, and late Gordon Tatusis started this group, and it was to bring together youth from the inner cities of Saskatoon and within the province to come in and want to do things like this, to bring their Indianness and be proud of who they are on stage or wherever it is that they want to, whether it's backstage or on stage. And this young man was one of our first Circle of Voices members, and he has taken our theater company to so many different directions he just continues to inspire me constantly. He's from the Beardies and Okamasas First Nation. His name is Curtis Peditus. So Curtis, could you come up here? Let's give him a round of applause. He's going to share some words with you, but along with him, we have another rising star within our theater company, and she's from the Thunderchild First Nation. She's going to be graduating from Oskaik High School. You're going to be seeing her on stage as well, and I'm so proud to introduce her. Joanna Angus, could you come up here? So I'll turn it over to these two. I'm so lucky I get to live in Saskatoon because you get to work with students that are going to be teachers, and you get to work with people who are working in the theater world, and you get to dance powwow, and you get to know people like Fawn Wood, and I'm just so lucky. So I'm going to turn it over to these two awesome young people.
Hi, thank you, Irene. Dansei Gakhiao. Curtis Peditus and Sigasun Egwanea Hoche Sisip Sagaiganik. I'm from the Duck Lake area. My name is Curtis Peditus. Hello, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Johanna Angus. I'm from Thunderchild First Nation, and I'm 19 years old. I'm part of the Circle of Voices program.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's a real treat to be up with you here, Johanna. Thank you. Awesome. So, how are you feeling? How's it going?
I'm feeling really great, pretty excited. Have a show tonight.
Awesome, cool. So I understand this thingamajig that was just handed to me by Chris is called a clicker. And when you press it, it clicks. And when it clicks, it does stuff. So let's see what it does for us, okay? I'm gonna click the forward button and, oh, look at that, GTNT, Gordon Tatusis Niganiwin Theater. I'm the artistic director of GTNT, and I have been with the company since 2001. I started January 8th, 2001 with the Circle of Voices program. We have many COV alum, over 140 that have come through this program since then, since 1999. And also, additionally, our general manager and our artistic associate are also Circle of Voices alumni. Project. Thank you all for being here and giving us this opportunity to open Think Indigenous. So hey, Joanna, just a quick question. If I say Think Indigenous to you, what does that mean? What comes to mind?
I would say Think Indigenous. What comes to mind is to think without a boundary, without those barriers that we've been facing for a long time.
Wow, awesome. Thank you for that. Well, hey, folks, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I think if we are going to open this conference, we have to start with journeys, and I'd like to share my personal journey. I am 42 years old. I'm Cree. I have a 6-year-old boy. And as a 42-year-old Indigenous man, I happen to believe that my life experience is very synonymous with a lot of men who are in my demographic and in my age group. I grew up with a lot of abuse, like a lot of us have. I'll echo a little bit of my presentation yesterday with the youth group, and it's very important for me to share this. When I was 4 years old, I took my first sip of alcohol. By the time I was 8 years old, I was smoking cigarettes. I was smoking drugs by the time I was 10, and by the time I was 12, I was what they call huffing or sniffing solvents. It was a very, very hard lifestyle for a boy growing up in Saskatchewan, and I think part of that is synonymous with the history of our people. I'd like to echo the words of a friend of mine. Her name is Kalumpa Bob, and she mentioned and shared in a meeting recently that it was 1950 when the potlatch ban was lifted in Canada. 1976 was the last time somebody needed permission to leave the reserve. 1996 was the last time we had an open residential school in Canada. Now, 1976, I was 2 years old. 1996, I was 22 years old. This is in our lifetime. And as my friend Kalumpa says, I think part of the history, the dark history, the hurting history of our people is that we are institutionalized. And the reason why I share this is because part of our journey in this world and in this life, especially with the cultural arts, is that we utilize the arts to rehumanize ourselves. My mentor, Kenneth Charlotte, who is the founding artistic director of GTNT, once said, "The arts and culture are intertwined and part of the human makeup." For the longest time, I had no idea what that meant. I originally got into this for fame and fortune. Well, albeit the famous phrase, starving artist, I quickly learned what that was, and that fame and fortune certainly don't come to you quickly in this business. But what I also learned is that through my mentor, that when we hit the stage, we call the stage a sacred place. There are things in the cultural arts that I am learning, not only through our history, but, ladies and gentlemen, through our language. The first sentence I learned was, we need to keep speaking our language. There is a world of knowledge inside our language. There are expressions, there are stories, there are characters. It is rich, and I'm only just starting to learn this now. I really, really hope that these kinds of words are very important, especially for our young people, like Johanna, who is a member of our current Circle of Voices troupe. I'm going to give her an opportunity to speak in just a minute. She has some wonderful things to share with us. But moving right along, culture and the arts intertwined and part of the human makeup. I learned recently from Daryl Chamakis this expression in the Cree language, Gagi Simuin, which he says means or refers to speaking spiritually, which could also mean a reference to prayer. In the world of theater, we have what is called a monologue. I could never really understand what a monologue does, what it is, or what kind of service it provides in the world of theater until I heard Daryl say the word Gagi Simuin. He said, speaking spiritually. I thought about Kenich's words, the stage is a sacred place. And then I went, oh my goodness, Gagi Simuin could be a Cree expression for the term monologue. Because when we hit that sacred space and you do speak the monologue, you are in essence speaking spiritually and making great, great use of your mind, your heart, your body, and your spirit to share with the people who come to our theater company, to our stories, and to our plays. I find that very, very empowering for myself, and it takes me and segues me to my next reference, which is a developing philosophy that I have in the cultural arts. And I happen to believe that the cultural arts provide entertainment, they provide expression, they give us voice, They're an opportunity for education because I happen to believe that many theater artists are knowledge keepers. And they also provide empowerment. And I think they provide not only empowerment for our communities, but it starts with our youth. So I'd like to share that today as well. So my friend here, my young lady friend, her name is Johanna Angus. She is a current member, as I said, of the Circle of Voices program. So Johanna, do you want to tell us a little bit about your experience with COV, the show that we're doing now, what that's all about, and perhaps your part in that production?
I'd be happy to share with you guys. Well, I came into COV with no idea what I was getting myself into. I'm graduating this year and decided I should do something big. And a friend mentioned COV and said it was theater. Never thought I was much of an artist, but what I didn't know is powwow dancing growing up was performing. So I got into my shell. And it really encouraged me to find a structure where I can explore my talents, explore my skills, and just explore having new relationships with people, mentors. I've met so many amazing people and had so many opportunities to just talk to new people. Art is like a part of our life. It's everywhere. We see it every day. And the youth, we need that art. We need artists like us, Aboriginal artists, so we know what we're about. We all, we grow up seeing the same things, the same faces, and the same stories. Now I have a new platform to share my story, to share other people's stories, and it's just a gift. It's really wonderful.
Excellent. So we're doing a show now called Reclaim, which is written by Marcel Petit. And Marcel is a very active member of our community. He is also from Beardies. I happen to believe that we're probably cousins, because you usually are from the same reserve. That's how it works. What I wanted to do now is ask you a little bit about Reclaim. Without giving away too much, what is the story about, and who do you play in the story?
Well, first off, I play Frankie. I'm a judge, but I'm not really there as a judge. I'm more as a peacekeeper to just hear the both sides of the story. And what Reclaim it really is about is a former Native cop facing his former victims and just finding that reconciliation of forgiveness and your path to your future, just moving on and I guess finding that journey.
Thank you. It's a very intense play. It's been running now since March 11th. I've been working with Johanna and her friends in the Circle of Voices program for the past 8 weeks of rehearsal. These young people give us their time after school and after work and come and join us. They have no prior experience. They come in with passion, interest, and commitment, and that's what we ask to come into the Circle of Voices program. It is all about culture, theater, and career development, and the program culminates with a production. They work with a professional playwright in the community, and they create stories and plays that are relevant not only to the young people, but to our community. So that's the nature of the COV program. It's a very intense show. And I think we're telling this story with a lot of bravery. It's taken 19 people to tell this story. And out of those 19 people, only 5 are over the age of 30. So we are definitely being led by our young people in the future, especially in the arts and the cultural arts. So we're very, very happy about that. So, Johanna, now that the program is coming to a close, can you tell us a little bit about how this program will finish and what all of the COV members will experience for their graduation?
Well, we're having a round dance for our graduation, and it's going to be an amazing experience because we get to exit this amazing original program together as a team, as a family, and we're always going to have each other. We're alumni. We're always going to be around each other, and it's just good family.
Excellent. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm hoping that our words here and our sharing is definitely meant to inspire people about education in other contexts. And we're talking about the cultural arts here at GTNT through the Circle of Voices program and through stories like Reclaim that are meant specifically for our community, by our community, and involve our community. So that was something that we really thought was special to share with you here today. On my own journey, getting back to the idea of journeys, ladies and gentlemen, my journey was definitely completed when I first entered the Circle of Voices program in 2001. We did a story called Love Songs from a War Drum, and that story was based and adapted from the Romeo and Juliet story by Shakespeare, but it was about gangs in Saskatoon, and it was about two gangs and two young people in those gangs that fell in love. We wanted to tell the story that was really relevant to our local community. And I think if we're thinking about Think Indigenous, inspiring change, and educational components, contexts, and curriculums that are more relevant to our own culture, our own language, our own history, then I think we are on the right path. And we have no one to thank but all the artists who have come before us, like Gordon Tatusis and Tantu Cardinal, who were founding members of the Saskatchewan Native Theatre Company, which became the Gordon Tatusis Niganiwen Theatre. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about who it is we are at GTNT. We have young people. We have our professional artists that come into our professional theater season, and we have also our cultural advisor, we have our elders, we have our language keepers, and finally we have our audiences that come and experience our stories. It is so much about community. It is so much about that entertainment, that expression, that education, and that empowerment that I think is really going to take us to new places in the cultural arts, but also to inspire other models in the world of education to actually think about our languages, our cultures, and our histories, and incorporate those and make them more meaningful for our young people today and our communities. Our time is just about up. I'm really, really thankful to Irene Oakes. I'm thankful to Chris Scribe for giving us a voice here today. It is not that regular that the arts are given a voice in our country and in our community. And I'm hoping that we're paving new way. I'm hoping our young people will continue to rise. And I'm hoping that audiences will still come and continue to support us. I have a story I want to share. I did a presentation with Johanna yesterday, and we were at Think Indigenous Youth Day. And one of the kids who is non-Indigenous asks us a question and goes, "So you guys are kind of like that group who just does stories and makes them your own, like The Wiz?" And I went, I'll hand that over to Joanna to answer. And she did. She answered it, and it was really amazing. It was also funny. She goes, "Well, it's more than that. We write stories that are meaningful, stories that involve us, our stories." And she goes, "So no, we don't really do cheesy-ass plays." And she covered her mouth, and everybody went like this, and we all started laughing, and I thought it was just the most wonderful, pure, just an original moment for Joanna as she's making this journey into public speaking. And for all of the young people that were there, it was nice for them just to relax and go, you know what? Sometimes we do get a little too serious in this world, and the arts, our people, all of you here allow us to just once in a while remember that we're human. And the arts are humanizing our communities and our people. So with that, I want to give Joanna an opportunity to say thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And we hope you enjoy Think Indigenous. Thank you all for having us here. Hi, hi, Nanaskaman.
Let's give them another round of applause. They did awesome, awesome, awesome. Great work, you two. Kristen, his gift giving is a little bit slow here.
So thank you for a great start and a great start to Think Indigenous. I think we're all going to be pumped. Tomorrow's going to be deadly, wicked, awesome. Irene will give you the housekeeping stuff. But on behalf of the Think Indigenous Conference Committee, we want to present you with a thank you gift from our conference here, which is a nice painting here. There you go. Here's one. And a Pendleton, well, it's a towel, but it's a real nice towel, okay? It's real super. And we didn't actually get you anything. No, just kidding. There it is.
Just before they go, Circle of Voices is going to be selling tickets. They have a booth out there, and their play goes until Friday is the last night. So it's a great opportunity to go and see some of our youth from within the city, and Joanna is one of them. So thank you again. Well, we're just about at the end of our program. Just some housekeeping, and this is Chris's housekeeping here. If you're on Twitter, go to hashtag TIEC2016 to get some updates. Again, the shuttle tomorrow, 7:15 outside. I'd really, really like to thank our two elders, our two knowledge keepers for giving us the guidance that we need. Thank you, Edwin. Hi. I really appreciate all that you continue to do for the Indian Teacher Education Program. I know Orest always relied on you, as does Chris. And thank you to my mother. Mom, don't know what we'd do without you. You're always there. You're just so awesome. Hi. I'd like to end off the evening with some final singing. I'm so proud of this young lady. I got to meet her, I don't even know, a long time ago, and always so impressed by her music, the sound of her voice. She's just so talented. She's in demand all over the place too, so we're so lucky that her and Dallas got to come and join us, as well as their cutie pie son here. So I'll turn it over to them, and thank you again. Have a great evening. There's a powwow at Bedford Road. Thanks to all of our committee. I don't know what we do without the great community that we work with. Yeah, and Chris doesn't really do anything. We do most of it. Just kidding. Okay, just hold on.
Danse, everybody. My name's Fawn Wood, and I'm from Onitskoponik, which is the Saddle Lake Cree Nation of Alberta. And the song I'd like to share with you was actually composed by my father, Earl Wood, who is a Cree speaker as well. And we get asked to share the song amongst different communities and amongst our own people to kind of send you off in a good way with that good energy and good blessings. Hi. Hey.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. Have fun. We'll see you guys early tomorrow morning. We're going to have continental breakfast at the Lakeview Church first thing in the morning. So see you then.